Hi, I'm Kaylee and this is... I wanted to share with you guys today my 2018 book goals for the year. They're kind of all over the place and it's not like a complete finished list. I feel like I'm going to keep adding to it throughout the year, but this is what I've got so far. I want to reread Emma by Jane Austen. I haven't finished doing my reread from last year, so I want to finish Emma and I want to finish Sense and Sensibility. I'm actually excited about Sense and Sensibility. It's one of my favorites of Austen's, and Emma is not one of my favorites. It's usually pretty low on the list for me, so I'm kind of excited to reread it and see if that's changed at all as I've gotten older. I also love the Brontes a ton, so I want to read a book by Anne Bronte. This last year, my husband and I went to England and we got to go to the Bronte Parsonage, and I got to really learn more about all of the Brontes' lives, and I could not believe that I hadn't read any book by Anne Bronte at all. So I want to make sure that I read that this year so I can officially say I love all of the Bronte sisters. And in addition to an Anne Bronte book, I want to read one of the lesser known Bronte novels. The two biggest ones are obviously Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. So I want to read basically any of other Charlotte Bronte's books or another Anne Bronte book in addition to the one that I'm already trying to read for this year. I also want to read a popular YA fantasy series, which this might be hard for me because I don't like YA fantasy books. I don't know what it is, but I just normally don't get into them. So I'm trying to see if I can read a series that everyone recommends and see if I like it, or see if I actually hate it versus just trying to avoid it. I also want to read a book of poems this year. Last year, I started reading more poetry and I thought it was really unique, and I used to not really get poetry, but now I feel like I'm at a point in my life where it's starting to make a little more sense to me and I kind of can understand what's being written about. And so I want to find a book of poems and read the entire book this year. So it's probably going to be something that it's done by an author that I already read, and so probably won't be too adventurous, but if you have any recommendations, please let me know. I recently discovered the mystery genre on Netflix, which include a lot of really fun BBC adaptations of books that already exist. And so it's kind of got me on this mystery kick, where normally I don't care for mysteries. So I just saw an adaptation of And Then There Were None, and so I want to read that by Agatha Christie, which I'm actually a little nervous about because I know how it ends. But that usually doesn't bother me because I tend to look for spoilers in books anyway. So I'm hoping it will be good, but I'm excited to read it and just see if that's a genre I like. In addition to And Then There Were None, I want to read another Agatha Christie book just to see what other books in her repertoire that I might like. She's written so many beloved mystery books, and I just really want to see what all the hype is about. Outside of Agatha Christie, I just want to read another mystery book. It can be based on one of the Netflix series I've watched, or if someone has a good recommendation of one for me. I definitely want it to be like a true classic mystery, not necessarily a thriller, but just there is a mystery happening revolving around a community or a town or a murder, and there's one character or a couple of characters who are trying to solve it through detective and sleuthing. Since this is a booktube channel that also includes kid books, I wanted to try to read a mid-grade book. My daughter's 1, so she definitely will not be reading a mid-grade or mid-level book at all, but I have a couple of nieces and nephews that are in that range, and I thought it'd be fun to read a book that I might think they enjoy and recommend it to them, and just to expand my literary palette. I kind of skipped over what is out there right now, and I feel like there's probably some really great books for kids that are that age and that adults could really enjoy. And so I want to find a really good mid-grade level book and read that at some point this year. I also really want to read an anthology this year. I've read a few anthologies over the past couple of years, edited by Stephanie Perkins, My True Love Gave to Me, and Summer Days and Summer Nights, and I really loved that you could kind of just dip in and out of the book as you read each short story. So I want to find another anthology and read that throughout the year and just add that to the list of books I like. I really enjoy having short little stories to read throughout the year. I also want to find and read one of the Persephone published books. They publish books that are written by women that have usually fallen out of print and that aren't very popular. but are really unique. And I've read a couple in the past, but I want to find one that I haven't read before and read another one this year. I also want to read a Thomas Hardy book. I've never read anything by Thomas Hardy, but like I said earlier, have recently gone to England and just fell in love with a lot of the countryside in England. And we spent a lot of time in what he's coined as Wessex, which is the western side of the country, definitely the southwest. And we spent a little bit of time driving through that area, and I just think it'd be really cool to read a book by Thomas Hardy and just kind of fall in love with that area of England all over again. I also want to participate in Victober, so I feel like Thomas Hardy is going to help me out on that a little bit. Victober is a thing that I think YouTube and BookTube does in October, where they focus on Victorian books. But I really want to participate in that because a lot of my favorite authors, like the Brontes, have come out of the Victorian time, and I think it's a really interesting time to read, especially when the characters revolve around women, because it's such a different time than it is now. So I want to participate in Victober this year. I read a book by Daphne du Maurier last year, and I want to read another book by her this year, and it's Rebecca. I've heard a lot about Rebecca, and that's one of her more popular works, and so I can't wait to read that one. I also really want to read a graphic novel. I normally avoid anything that's like comic, graphic novel, manga related. It's just not normally my style, but I really want to try to broaden my reading this year, and so I want to find a great graphic novel that really just draws you in and that really captures art in a way that tells a story. And so if you have any recommendations on that, please let me know. And then I want to read at least one nonfiction book. I generally avoid nonfiction. I don't like it. I tend to go to read because I want to be like transported from what's currently going on in my life or just taken on an adventure, and nonfiction doesn't do that for me. But I'm an adult, so I should probably add more nonfiction to my shelf. So I'm gonna try to find a book that I think would really help my life, benefit it in a way from reading, and try to engage in it and find a way to maybe start liking nonfiction. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm willing to try. So those are, so far, some of my book goals for 2018. If you have any book recommendations that fit any of the categories that I talked about, please share them below. And if you have any goals that you have for 2018, please let me know. Thanks.